That trailer alone is goosebumpy and scary, but you must know that in the year 2016, India reported over 8,000 cases of human trafficking. 23,000 young girls went missing that we know of. Over half of them were under the age of 18. Minor children sold into slavery for the rest of their lives, they go missing completely. This is that story. A film called Love Sonia that's brave, shocking, and that will punch you in the gut. And perhaps in this country right now, that's the kind of punching we need to wake up to the reality of what's really happening. But I have the cast in the studio with me, with the director. Let me do a quick round of introductions, although I'm sure the audience is familiar with most of the faces. Frida Pinto, who plays Rashmi in Love Sonia. We also have Richa Chadha, very powerful in the trailer. I can't wait to watch the film. Mrinal, it's your debut. Congratulations. And Tabrez Noorani, who's the director. But I understand you grew up in Mumbai, Tabrez. Yes. Is there a reason why you decided to do this, this story?
I think the story found me.
Okay.
I was in the midst of doing my first film when I stumbled upon a story about sex trafficking, about a girl who'd been trafficked from India who ended up in Los Angeles, and that opened my eyes into the world of global sex trafficking. I was developing a story at that time, and this one seemed it intrigued me. So more research, started getting involved with NGOs. It became more than just research at that point. And then as I did various other movies, I continued working with these NGOs, eventually got involved in raids and rescuing girls, rehabilitation of girls, and through all those experiences came the real life stories which ended up being Love Sonia.
Yeah, I understand you spent 13 years researching this film.
Yes, it's been, I mean, to date it's, by the time the movie comes out this Friday, it's 15 years.
15 years.
15 years from the first time that we had a script. Yeah. But it's evolved since then. And now I'm on the board of one of the NGOs that I started working with. Did
you come across a story that really struck you? Something that you could share with the audience while you were meeting, these women, these young girls who had been sold. I mean, there's no other way to call it. It's slavery, isn't it? Yes. Sold into slavery.
Yeah.
Was there a story that struck you most of all?
Well, the story that Love Sonia
Love Sonia.
It was about, it was two sisters, and it really was, and which is why we've kept it very real. So when you see the film, it isn't watered down. It's exactly what happens. It's the story that struck me. I mean, there've been so many, but one of them was about what happens to these girls when they are lucky, if they are lucky enough to be rescued, and that percentage is very low. But when they are, and you meet them, they are like rock stars. Yeah. They aren't victims, they're survivors. They stand tall, you feel small in front of them because they have been through hell and back, and they're only maybe 14 years old. So
you've met some of these girls, have you?
Yes.
Was this part of research? Did you all go out and meet them? What was that like?
Tabrez never wanted us to sit with the script, rehearse the lines, because it might get mechanical. He wanted it to be very organic. So Preeti, Riya Sisodia, who plays my sister in the film, so Preeti and I, we both went to Sonagachi in Kolkata, and we spent 3-4 days with them. Initial first day was very difficult because for them to open up to strangers, it was quite difficult. And the moment they got to know that we are making a project, we're making a film for girls who need to be aware, they opened up and they had a white smile on their face, and they shared their story. While we were shedding tears, they are like, now we don't shed tears because aasu sook chuka hai. So they're my heroes, they're my sheroes. So every time I had a difficult scene, I had their flashes in front of me, and it just motivated me.
It's a tough film to pick as your debut.
Yes.
I mean, what were you thinking when you picked it? Were you worried about being typecast again? There's a lot of people who worry about being typecast. She's already stinging. She knows what's coming next.
Honestly, not all girls get a chance to play the title role, and I'm quite happy I'm blessed. And this is the film which would, you know, I have so many shades in the character, not actually, but the graph is amazing. And all the girls who like watching this interview right now must be dying to perform. And this is it, like nothing best can happen. Tabrez chose me and I'm quite fortunate. It was a hard time to convince him, but yes, I'm glad I'm playing Sonia.
Richa? So you've always been someone who's, you know, gone for the roles that are stronger, that are cooler. So this is for both of you, for you and for Frida, the opportunity to play strong women, strong female characters, which in a film that's about women, these opportunities don't come by very often, do they?
Yeah, they don't. I tend to gravitate towards them, but in this case I felt like this film, you know, it's made from a very compassionate point of view. Just like Runal, Tabrez could have picked something light and frothy, entertaining for his first film, you know. As a director, he's produced before, but he with all the access and the contacts he had, you know, one would assume that he would take that sort of run-of-the-mill route, but it's not.
So we can tell the audience that you play what's
Madhuri.
The madam.
No, she's not the madam. Also a sex worker, but she's trying to transition between not having to do it, picking her clients and just because she gets a private bedroom, she's okay to push Sonia's character into, and that's a luxury in that space to have that. So that's why I thought I love my character too. I think all of us are in love with our own characters, but I love the graph of the character and I love being a part of a film like this.
Any dialogue that particularly, you know, you love to? Some of it's really cool. Some of the dialogue's really strong.
The dialogue is really very real, not even realistic. It's just very real dialogue. I don't remember
one of her, like my favorite dialogue, which Richa said while doing it, was not even mentioned in the script. She says, "Ye mera collection hai," and I'm like, ooh. You would know, when you watch the film, you would know what I'm talking about. And Frida's one line that I love the most is like, "Rashmi in, Preeti out, Preeti in, Rashmi out."
That was a random thing that I made up.
Yeah.
Tabrez was like, "Can you say that again?" I was like, really? I just didn't think you were going to use it. But,
So Frida, back to Bombay for you.
Back to Bombay.
What's that been like?
With an amazing story.
Yes.
So the thing is, I always come back to Bombay quite often. I just don't come back with an amazing film like Love Sonia. And so this is a very special trip. And you know, I said this to another journalist this morning, and so I'm going to say this to you as well. I think the media and journalism in India has changed far from what I knew when it was in 2008. It's amazing how much deeper we want to go as human beings into the stories and want to ask the right questions. And so my experience on this press junket has been so absolutely phenomenal, because you're so responsible in putting these stories out there, right, and writing these stories. And to your point about these strong women that we're playing, I think the other part of these strong women that we're all embracing is their complexity. And it's very rare that you get multi-dimensional characters in films. You know, we've seen a lot of films on sex trafficking, and I feel there is a stereotype even to the way sex workers have been written and played. And Tabrez wanted none of that in this film. He wanted us to keep it as real as possible. And so some of these girls that came to set to advise us on the authenticity and how to maintain it while we were filming, one of them I interacted with actually asked me, I was asking her questions, and her mentor and her chaperone told me that I could ask her whatever I wanted. And I just asked her, you know, if you could get away from this life and, you know, fell in love with someone and had a better opportunity somewhere, would you go? And she looked at me and said, "Madam, love aapke life mein hota hai." So for them, for me it was shocking, and for them it's, yes, this is a matter of fact. Love only exists in your world and not in mine. And that complexity, even trying to understand that, to fathom it and to absorb it and then portray it, is very important, because we don't want to keep it one-dimensional.
Actually, one of the really cool things was that, unlike other films we see, the dialogue was not all catchphrases and you know, punchlines. It was very real. At least, you know, the portions of it that I saw. So that way, delivery and just, you know, just the body language was. Is that something you were going for?
Yeah, the whole idea was to make it, you know, you wanted to keep it real, create a world that is authentic, because if you do that, then it becomes easier for the actors. And all three of them did, actually everyone did an enormous amount of research, and they really just they absorbed everything. And we kept it very fluid.
Where did you shoot? Did you shoot in Mumbai?
Yes,
in Kamatipura?
We shot in Mumbai. We shot all over the city. We shot little bits in Kamatipura, little bits less than a kilometer away.
Away from here.
We shot,
I don't know how many of our audience members know that we're really close. I mean, we're actually at Grant Road, so it's really close by. And what was that like for you, as young women?
To shoot in the real location was actually very challenging and also very depressing. I remember he tried to get us to film most of our parts in the first half of the day, because it's in the second half.
It gets
busy. The first half it's a little sleepy, everyone's still waking up. Around 3 or 4 o'clock it suddenly came to life, and we saw like balconies of like decked up women like hanging out looking, oh, is there a shoot, what's going on, you know, a nightie, a dupatta, pancake makeup, almost purple black lipstick. It was very geisha like, and you can see them, you know, that way I keep thinking the title Mandi is so apt, because they were displayed like vegetables and just wares in the balconies, and it's happening so close to where we're sitting right now.
Yes.
And that's so disturbing.
And the spaces, like the fact that you said that having a bedroom to yourself was the big deal. So you entered these spaces. You went into their homes, you went into their places of work. What was that like? So being so close to where we're sitting right now, where we live in Mumbai, to actually see the world that they live in and the constrained, I mean, space is a big deal.
I have to add on that note that, you know, sometimes I remember, you know, cribbing for luxury house or big car or maybe Gucci or Prada, the, you know, brands. But when I stepped out, you know, we live in a bubble. Yes. The moment you step out of this bubble, you get to know. When I went to Sonagachi, there's this small unit where they had a bed which was elevated. And the question I asked that lady was, why is the bed elevated? Why are they on bricks? They said, Didi, जब हम client के साथ bed पर होता है, you know, my husband and my son sleeps below the bed.
Yeah.
So this is the reality. When I asked them how many men, they are like 30 to 40 minimum. And I was shocked.
And what do they make?
Nothing. Peanuts. Less than $1. I told the lady whom I met, I was like, wow, your eyebrows are so beautiful. And she said, Didi, itne mard hai. You know, nobody has ever said that to me. Wow, I suddenly feel like I'm worthy, I'm precious. And I felt like, my God. It doesn't cost you dollars to just introduce yourself or just go and hug that person and say, hey, you know, everything is going to be okay and you deserve it. You have the right to live a happy life. It's...
Rita?
I'm just in awe of Mrinal right now. She is such the right ambassador for a project like this, and I think that is, to me, means a lot, because we need young girls are going to be watching this film, so she's really our shining light.
We hope young girls and their parents
and their parents.
That was going to be my next question, because the subject is fairly taboo. Let's be honest about, you know, we're a very highly populated country that doesn't like to talk about sex.
That's right.
And people are going to say, "Arey, depressing hoga yaar." You know, kaun jaake dekhega? Art film, you know, independent film, that sort of thing. And it's not it's not the recipe of a Bollywood blockbuster. So, in order for the message to actually serve its purpose, you have to get people in the theaters. How do we do that? What's your plan?
So
we came here.
Yes. That's a good plan. I mean, your cast is a great, you know.
Well, that's the biggest thing. But I'm going to answer what you asked, Pranav, in terms of how much she's making, just so you know. So she's making on the lower side 100 to 200 rupees per client.
Okay.
On the lower side, and on the higher side, much higher side, in certain areas in metropolitan cities, you're at maybe 700, with the maximum being 1,000. So that's how low the numbers are, because predominantly most of them are at 100, 200 a client.
And even that like the role of patriarchy within the brothel setup, the pimp is the one who takes away most of the cash. He controls it. This is modern day slavery, a sexual slavery.
Look, obviously we want
so
everyone
this
to
is
see
100
the movie.
after paying the pimp and the margins and everything else. This is take home.
No,
less
this
than that.
is before.
This is pre.
This is pre.
This is pre-margin.
Yeah, and sometimes they've got to pay rent as well for the actual cubicle or the room, because sometimes you are in a brothel that has 3 floors and each floor has a different owner. Then sometimes the larger booths are owned by a separate person, and that person charges them rent, and that's by the hour, regardless of how many clients they get.
But answering to the question that you asked before, that why should we watch the film? Like,
Yes,
it's dark,
yes.
and you know, people say it's depressing. You can't be watching you need to know what reality is all about. Like, a couple of friends of mine who are like diamond merchants children, and they're like, oh my god, does this really happen? Oh, might be a story. I said, no. This is reality. And the fact that you never know, it can be you, it can be your friend tomorrow. Girls are just picked up, they're just disappearing. Nobody knows where they are going, what's happening with them. So the least that we can do is we can spread an awareness, we can let the girls know what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to be alert, and you know what measures they're supposed to take in case if they are trapped. Most of the girls, they lose hope. You know, there's one incident, this girl who shared, she said, I ran back, I went home, and my parents said that, hey, because you've spent 2 nights in the brothel, we're going to abandon you. Why? If we are doing this to our children, I mean, it's sick.
The way society looks at sex crimes in general is quite depressing. I mean, every time something happens, I'm just like, oh wait, some MLA is going to say something stupid.
Yes,
and I'm never disappointed.
Yes, something stupid is that it's always a girl's fault.
Yeah, it's always a girl. You can be a nun and it's your fault.
And it's your fault. Yeah.
I mean, we actually had that instance where we had an MLA come out and call a nun who was victim of rape, a prostitute, saying that obviously she was asking for it. She, you know, she did it so many times. They're obviously a prostitute. So the fact that the patriarchy doesn't just facilitate, but also then condones the crime and then shames the victim. It's just cycle that you simply just can't get out of. Yeah.
Let's reframe that. I hope that with the film people stop using the word prostitute as an insult. And understand the situations in which this is done to them.
I think to your point about how people are going to come and watch this film, it's, you know, we're expecting them to use their intelligence and go in and watch this film anyway, because the trailer is very moving. And I think what they're all going to be surprised, and you know, we're here to even promote the film, so I think we should definitely let people know.
It is really a story about human spirit.
And it's about hope.
It is about that victory of those 2 girls.
She's a hero. She's a hero.
I mean, I don't know the end, but I'm assuming they find each other.
But this whatever the end is,
it's a hero's
film. Actually, we should let everyone know it's really about the human spirit, and it's really about hope and positivity as well. Because you can't let people feel depressed. You're going to make them feel depressed, and you're going to be despondent, and no one's going to actively do anything about it. So we're not that film.
Okay, so obviously go out and watch the film. It's in theaters on the 14th of September. This Friday it's in theaters. Go out and watch the film and tweet, let us know what you think. But the other question is, it's not just Tabrez about watching the film, it's about what we can do after that.
Exactly.
You know, nobody, obviously if you're watching at home, nobody's asking you to come out and like go to the red light area and help out in some way, but there must be something we can do within our circles of influence. What can we do?
I think everyone can do something, and everyone has a cause that they associate themselves with. There's various ways to fight sex trafficking. There's education, there's lowering the poverty level, but awareness is the biggest. And I think that in any small way, whether you're a college student or you're a professional or you're an actor, everyone thinks that you need to be an actor or celebrity to do something, but that's not the case. You really don't. It starts very small. You know, all our communities have NGOs. You can volunteer there, but more than that, you can just be aware and speak up.
Yeah, just raise a voice. If you think there's something wrong happening to you or anyone else around you, just say that no, it's wrong.
You know, Richard did something really wonderful after this film. I think you should share that.
You did. What did you do? Tell us what you did.
No, we came back from LA and we did a small crowdfunding campaign with Keto. They do a lot of crowdfunding. And this NGO called Purnata. And there were 4 girls who wanted to leave the trade and sort of relocated them from the outskirts of Bombay, someplace called Solapur, to a nice house in Andheri. And they all, one is a hairstylist now, one does embroidery on like little bags and makes knickknacks. The other one, I remember when she had come to meet me, had taken a bus for the first time in her life because they have absolutely no coping and life skills. But it's wonderful to see they're all rehabilitating. And these are people who've been to places so dark that I don't expect them to trust even a woman.
Yeah.
You know, victims of rape and being sold off by elder cousins and things like that. But they're surviving and they're really, like Tabrez said,
somehow all of these stories start with terrible betrayal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Of a close family member.
Most of the time,
most of
Family members. But the other thing that the film will do is obviously to create awareness. So next time you talk to your maid or your mali, tell them that somebody's promising their daughter a job in this city, be very careful.
Yeah.
It's most likely not that job.
It starts that way.
And they don't know better, they trust, and it's too bad.
Yeah, people get manipulated easily, and that's what is happening today.
Well, you know, there were stories, of course, that we've covered on the channel as well, of young girls who were rescued by NGOs, and once they were rescued by an NGO, they have to be taken to a government shelter, and they were being abused in the government shelter. They were being raped in the government shelter. So a lot of times, even post-rescue, you haven't really been rescued.
Not over.
Yeah.
Did you come across cases like this?
Yes, a lot. I mean, a lot of the time, which is why the first thing is you have to get them out of the city immediately. And because look, there's corruption everywhere, and this is also why I think when people watch the film, it'll be different, because everyone feels a lot more comfortable if they know that okay, it's happening in India, it's happening in China. But the minute you take it back to the West, they get more uncomfortable. It doesn't only happen over here; it happens over there, maybe even more sometimes. So it's it's the world of global human trafficking, and the same thing that happens over here, unfortunately, happens in Eastern Europe. It happens in the United States, whether it's the corruption or the girls going back to the brothel owners or to their pimps. It's worldwide. It has nothing to do with a particular country.
And there is a portion of the film where these girls are shipped overseas, and that happens a lot. And a lot of times, once victim of trafficking is shipped overseas, it's almost impossible to trace them and bring them back.
There's no paperwork. It's illegal trafficking. There's
The
nothing.
identities have been changed, and so it's even harder to track them at that point. Yes, that's very true. In fact, some of the girls that we worked with as well, we had to be very careful about not taking photographs of them and posting it on our Instagram, even if it was just like a friendly meeting, because you want to keep the identity very secure. And more than anything else, their pimps are still at large.
Yeah.
So the nexus, the network is very, very crooked, and they know how to find it. Very dangerous.
I remember when I was doing the crowdfunding thing, my driver told me कि दीदी जो लोग ने छोड़ दिया उनको ठीक है, उनको आप यहाँ पे रख लो, but किसी को बोलना मत छोड़ने के लिए, आपके लिए खतरा है. I said, how do you know what I'm doing, and are you really threatening me, or is somebody? But that's how dangerous it is.
Well, we have run out of time on this conversation, but before we wrap up, and you did say why we should go watch the film, but I want each of you, to share, something. Was there a particular phrase, a catchphrase, something body language-wise that you picked up?
I say very colorful things. You don't want me to say this on this channel.
Stuff that you can't say on
don't want me to
television.
say this. Or maybe you will, and the ratings will go up, and people will watch the movie.
Everybody likes a good controversy. How about you? Something you picked up, something you sort of worked into your character to sort of bring the character out?
I wore our costume designer insisted I wore a big nut. I said, why? He said it's symbolic, it means many things, and also you get that queen bee effect.
Yes.
Like, I'm not soliciting anymore, I'm just going to rule over them. So small things like that are touches that you'll enjoy in the film.
Yeah. What about you?
So my favorite line from the film is, "Tu kahan bhi hai, main tujhe dhoond nikalungi." That is the only line that I had in my head when I started the film.
Yes.
And because I love my sister, if anything happens, I would do anything to find her, to make sure that she's okay. So if you really, really love your sister, please go watch this film, because
actually, even in the trailer, a very powerful scene is when they take the sister away.
Yes.
And you obviously don't know where she's going or why they're taking her away, if I'm not mistaken. But just the idea that she's being taken away alone and you're being separated seemed really powerful. That was a fantastic performance, even for that few seconds.
So jahan bhi hai, main tujhe dhoond nikalungi.
All right, we're out of time, but we're going to play the trailer one more time. Remember, it's out in the theatres on the 14th of September. Go watch it, talk about it. The idea is to start the conversation so we can spend, you can, once you give mind space and attention to the problem, we're closer to solving that problem. Just a little bit. Watch the trailer.